On this week's NESN Patriots podcast, we will preview the upcoming AFC Championship game between New England and the Kansas City Chiefs. We will recap their dominant win over the Los Angeles Chargers. Hello and welcome to the NESN Patriots podcast. I am Doug Kai, joined as always by Zach Cox. Zach, how are you doing?
Not too bad, Doug. I was spent yesterday kind of preparing my layers for this weekend's game in Kansas City, which, I don't know if you've heard, it's probably going to be pretty cold.
Yeah, and the forecast, the forecast is always cold, but I feel like the temperatures are rising and falling dramatically. At one point when I looked yesterday, it was a high and a low of -1. Then I feel like the next time I looked, it was a high of 15 and a low of 9. Now I don't really know where we're at, but
I've seen some projections that it could be -10.
Right,
There's
it's
a 25-degree range.
And the fact that the game is being played at night doesn't really help matters much, I don't think, because we're going to be hitting that low, obviously. But yeah, it's going to be a cold one. I think that's what we're preparing for. And I mean, I don't really know who that benefits more in this game. Obviously, both these teams, since it's going to be so cold, both of them are going to be practicing in the cold this week. But I mean, Patrick Mahomes has only been a quarterback for 1 year. He grew up in Texas, played at Texas Tech. Tom Brady's been playing in the cold for his entire life, basically. Ever since he moved from California, he's been playing in Michigan and New England. So you'd have to think to some degree this will benefit the Patriots more than it will benefit the Chiefs.
Yeah, just from kind of an experience in playing in these type of games standpoint. I mean, I feel like you don't kind of fully comprehend how cold it can be in some of these situations until you actually get out in the field on game day and say, "Wow, it is not warm. You can't even really breathe right now. It's hard to catch passes, hard to throw passes." But we'll see. I mean, when it's that cold, it might just be something where it just kind of has an equal effect on both teams because nobody can really be used to playing in 0-degree temperatures.
Right. And I mean, just to put this in perspective, I know that you probably don't need this to be put into perspective, but think about a nice, warm spring 65-degree day. Then think of a 35-degree day, and you're probably in a pretty heavy jacket. Take that 30 more degrees down, and you've got to where we're going to be for this game on Sunday. Fortunately, we only really have to do a 30-minute pregame show outside. Then we'll be inside, so it won't affect us much. But, I mean, players who typically wear short-sleeve shirts and everything, I'm sure they will again, but it's going to be a little bit dangerous out there. It's going to be frostbite-like conditions.
Yeah, I mean, this is the coldest game the Patriots. I know we're kind of belaboring this cold. We'll get past it quick.
Yeah.
But the coldest game the Patriots have played in this year was 26 degrees at kickoff. The coldest they've played in the last couple of years was the Week 17 one against the Jets last year. It was 11 degrees at kickoff. Felt a lot colder because it was very windy. But, yeah, this game could be even 10 degrees colder than that one. So I always, in these games, I always feel for the guys. I always feel for Ted Karras and Adrian Waddle because it's like an offensive thing where you just you don't wear sleeves. Nobody on the offense wears sleeves except for Tom Brady and Brian Hoyer. So for the guys who are actually playing in the game, it's probably, I mean, at least they get some kind of some adrenaline going. They get to be running around for backup offensive linemen. Guys like Ted Karras and Adrian Waddle, they were just standing on the sideline in short sleeve shirts the entire game for that Jets game last year. And I kind of felt bad for them. You look down, I remember seeing those guys in the locker room after the game. Their arms are just purple.
Yes.
And they're not going to put a jacket on. They're tough offensive linemen.
That's the thing, too, is that I don't think you even really get to put the jacket on if you're not playing in the game. Yeah. So it's a bad situation. But Patriots pretty much demolished the Los Angeles Chargers on Sunday. Score doesn't totally look that way, but I feel like this is one of those games in 5 or 10 years where we're going to be like, oh, 41-28. Well, I guess it was a decently competitive game. It was not. The Patriots got out to a 38-7 lead by midway through the third quarter. Then the Chargers really kind of started to score a little bit more there in garbage time. What was it? 21 of their 28 points came in 16 minutes and 16 seconds to finish out the game. Patriots only kicked a field goal during that time period. So, I mean, the Patriots were basically at that point where they didn't want to put anything on tape that the Chiefs could use. And I think to some degree, having that much of a blowout and really only having to put maybe 2 quarters on tape for the next opposing team is a good thing in this regard. And I guess that was kind of the case with the Chiefs as well, but that game was a little bit more competitive between the Chiefs and Colts.
Yeah, that was basically it could have been a one-score game kind of late in the fourth quarter if Adam Vinatieri hadn't missed those 2 short kicks. So that game was definitely more competitive than this Patriots game. I know Bill Belichick harped earlier in the week. He was like, we really played poorly in the fourth quarter. We need to clean that up. obviously that's what the kind of message he's gonna send to his team this week. We need a 60-minute effort against the Chiefs, all that kind of stuff. But like you said, I don't think it was the worst thing in the world for them to just kind of take their foot off the gas, not really throw anything exotic at the Chargers in that second half. Yeah, they ended up kind of clawing back, but this was never this outcome was never really close to being in doubt after kind of midway through the second quarter. So this was, yeah, I mean, I know we talked last week. I know I said that I expected this game to be maybe a little not as kind of close as people were projecting it to be. I was not expecting this. I was not expecting just a total kind of blowout beatdown, especially since, as we were talking about all last week, this Chargers team was supposed to be the best team the Patriots have played in the divisional round in years. Did not look like it at all on Sunday. The Patriots really just kind of dominated them from the opening kickoff, scored touchdowns on 5 of their first 6 possessions, and the one that they didn't score on was basically just kind of an extended possession because they punted. The Chargers muffed the punt, the Patriots recovered a punt, and they went on to score a touchdown. So basically they scored 5 touchdowns in their first 5 possessions, and then from then on it was just kind of a wash. So really kind of emphatic performance from the Patriots, and really kind of inspires a lot of confidence in this team moving forward to the AFC Championship game and then potentially the Super Bowl if they do win this game. I know we were saying before those Week 16 and Week 17 games, we're not going to learn anything really about this team if they beat up on the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. They did beat up on the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets, and then they beat the hell out of a very good
wow, you finally did it.
Los Angeles Chargers team. So you've got to be feeling very good about this Patriots team going into the championship weekend. I mean, all 4. It's really kind of all 4 teams that are left have a legitimate chance at winning the Super Bowl, I think, and I think you have to put the Patriots right in that group.
Yeah, and to add to your point, they could have scored even one more time, but they kind of ran out of time at the end of the half when Philip Dorsett looked like he got out of bounds, didn't get out of bounds.
They called it his forward progress
stop. So, I mean, they even could have scored and probably kicked another field goal there at the end of the half. This was the Patriots' most complete win of the season, I think.
Easily.
And obviously you could throw the Jets in Week 17 in there, maybe that Dolphins game earlier in the season, but you also have to consider competition. The Chargers were obviously way better than the Dolphins and Jets this season. Chargers were, and you've got to say they were probably the 3rd best team in the AFC this year.
12-4 during the season.
I mean, they had the 2nd best record, or tied for the best record with the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Patriots really all across the board performed well in this game. And about 3/4 of the way through the season, I wrote a piece or two that just said that, okay, the Patriots have the pieces in place to be a complete team. They just haven't showed their full potential yet. And that continued on through the end of the regular season. I mean, discounting the Jets game where Tom Brady was throwing against number 4 or 5 and practice squad cornerbacks. But this really was finally that performance that I've been waiting for all year, because they do have the pieces in place. They do have a talented enough defense. They probably have the best defense left in the playoffs, statistically speaking.
They might. I mean, the Saints have been pretty good, but yeah, they're definitely in that conversation. I think they're clearly better than the Chiefs and the Rams.
And I mean, their pass rush looked really good against the Chargers. That's not going to continue this weekend, just because they won't have the same type of opportunities to rush Patrick Mahomes as they did against Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers is a statuesque quarterback back there, whereas Patrick Mahomes definitely a little bit more dangerous when he gets out of the pocket. So they have to worry about containment much more against Patrick Mahomes. So you won't see the same type of pass rush, but Patriots coverage players have been great in recent weeks. J.C. Jackson, Stephon Gilmore, statistically speaking, were the best 1-2 punch at cornerback that any team had this season. And, I mean, on offense, Julian Edelman went off in this game. Sony Michel looked great at running back. James White had a monster game with 15 catches. So, I mean, Philip Dorsett had a good game. The weapons don't extend that far down, probably not as far as we expected heading into the year, because Rob Gronkowski doesn't look like himself. There's something up with Chris Hogan this year. But they are a complete team right now, and they showed their full potential against the Chargers. And if they can continue playing at that full potential, then they're going to make the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. And I think going off that last point you had, I think having, like you said, James White had a great game. Sony Michel had a great game. Edelman had a great game. Philip Dorsett had definitely a positive game. And Rob Gronkowski only had 1 catch, but the 1 catch was kind of a vintage Gronk catch where he runs through 2 guys, drags another guy. I think it was for 25 yards. Also drew a pass interference in the end zone. Those were his only 2 targets of the game. He wasn't very involved in the offense, you could say, or at least involved in the passing game. but he didn't look kind of slow and old in this game, which he has in several games this season. He was a monster in the run blocking game, and I think just the way he kind of looked on the field, the way he was moving around, I wouldn't say that it was kind of on par with what we've seen from Gronk in years past, but you didn't look out on the field and say, man, Gronk is getting old, man. Look at this. He's probably kind of close to done. He might be close to done. He probably is close to done. Yeah. But the fact that he sort of didn't kind of look out of place out there, I think he still has kind of, I don't know if you want to call it unlocked potential with a guy like Gronkowski, but I still think that I wouldn't be shocked if he comes out in this game and has 6 catches for 85 yards and a touchdown. I just the way that he's been moving, the way he looks kind of more sort of at ease on the field, and like I said, he was tremendous in the run blocking game. So even if they just get that from Rob Gronkowski moving forward, I think that's kind of a real positive for this offense.
I just think that Rob Gronkowski has a much better chance of success this week against the Chiefs just because of what he did in that Week 6 matchup. He had 3 big catches in that game, had a big fourth quarter with 2 long catches. So, I don't know. I think that he has the potential. I'm not saying that he will go off in this game because he really hasn't had that great of a season, obviously, but he's got more potential in this game.
Yeah, I definitely think that even though the Chiefs' kind of secondary has sort of evolved pretty significantly since that Week 6 game, I still don't think they have kind of the exact pieces in there to shut down Gronk and prevent him from having kind of a game like that. I think if anything prevents Rob Gronkowski from having a game like that, it's just going to be Gronk's kind of own limitations that we've seen throughout this season. And I think that's especially the case if Eric Berry is not active or kind of fully healthy in this game, which we really haven't seen all season. He's been kind of a Gronk stopper in years past, but he's missed almost all of this season rather with that torn Achilles he suffered way back in Week 1 in 2017. So we'll see if he's active for this game. We'll see if some of the other kind of names that the Chiefs have been able to put into that secondary can slow down Rob Gronkowski in this game. But yeah, I definitely agree with that.
All right, let's get into the Chiefs matchup a little bit now that we're already talking about it. And I mean, for me, the biggest key in this game is just to stop Tyreek Hill. I think that's the number one key for the Patriots defense.
Absolutely.
And they didn't do a great job of that in Week 6. Tyreek Hill had 7 catches on 12 targets for 142 yards.
Yes, 3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns. And all 3 of those came in the second half?
Yeah, actually, looking at his stat line from that game, it's a pretty remarkable split. I mean, the first 29 minutes, so all of the first half up until the final minute of the second quarter, he had 4 targets, 1 catch, 2 yards. And then after that, the final 31 minutes, he had 6 catches on 8 targets for 140 yards and 3 touchdowns, one of which was a 75-yard touchdown that came kind of late in the game. So he's just a guy that it just kind of goes to show that even if you kind of limit Tyreek Hill for 2 quarters, he's not a guy that you can really completely shut down. I mean, I think the Patriots, I agree with you that...
Yeah, they're much better built this year to stop Tyreek Hill.
Absolutely.
Because one guy who's really emerged is J.C. Jackson, the undrafted rookie. We actually just talked to Andy Reid on a conference call. Not real clear if Andy Reid knows who J.C. Jackson is, but he should probably get to know that name over the next few days because J.C. Jackson, statistically speaking, has been the best cornerback in the NFL this season as far as passer rating allowed goes. He was a healthy scratch in that Week 6 game, so it was a lot of Jason McCourty covering Tyreek Hill, really, and Devin McCourty led up 2 of those touchdowns, the ones that came in the red zone, and then Daron Harmon and Jason McCourty kind of combined to let up, a 75-yard touchdown as well. J.C. Jackson is not allowed a touchdown all season. The longest pass he's allowed was 24 yards, and he's really been a regular starter for, 5 or 6 games at this point?
Yeah, he came in...
3 interceptions.
He sort of got sort of worked into the mix the game after this Chiefs game, the Chicago game, but it took him a couple of weeks to become kind of an entrenched starter. I believe he's been starting since that Week 13 game against the Minnesota Vikings, and like you said, he's been fantastic. And just kind of selfishly, from an entertainment standpoint, I want to see Tyreek Hill against J.C. Jackson in this game, just because it seems like J.C. Jackson, from everything we've seen kind of on the field from him this season, and even from just kind of talking to him and getting a sense of his sort of personality and mentality, he seems like he has the kind of mindset that you need when you're going against a guy like Tyreek Hill, who I don't think any team can just completely erase from sort of the stat sheet. You're not going to see Tyreek Hill come away with this game with come away from this game with one catch on 6 targets for 7 yards or something like that. I mean, if he does, then that's a tremendously good job by whichever defense he was playing against. He's going to get his. He's going to get open for a 25-yard gain at some point in this game. The Patriots just have to make sure that doesn't snowball into what we saw in Week 6, where he went off for 140 yards in a single half. I think J.C. Jackson has that kind of the short-term memory, the ability to sort of move on from a big play and immediately get right back into it. I think you saw a little bit of that against the Chargers, where he would let up a catch or two, and then the next play he's coming back with just kind of real, like, visible intensity. He tackled Tyrell Williams just like kind of hard for right at the line of scrimmage for like a 2-yard gain. A couple plays later, he stripped the ball downfield. So he seems like he's got that kind of that sort of, I don't know, that mindset, that intensity, that just kind of singular vision that he can compete with a guy.
Short memory.
Yeah, short memory, that he can compete with a guy like Tyreek Hill, even if he doesn't have kind of the elite physical traits that Hill does.
Yeah, and I think that, if it's not J.C. Jackson covering Tyreek Hill, then it would be Stephon Gilmore. Personally, I think the better matchup is just to have Gilmore totally shut down Sammy Watkins.
Yeah, just wipe him out.
Have J.C. Jackson cover Tyreek Hill with help over the top from either Duron Harmon or Devin McCourty. And then that leaves Patrick Chung and Devin McCourty on Travis Kelce. And the Patriots have always done a good job of neutralizing Travis Kelce. He averages 6 catches for about 50 yards per game. The best game that he actually had against them was that 2014 game in KC when he was a rookie, I believe, a rookie or second-year player, where he went off for 98 yards or something like that. He's only got 1 touchdown against the Patriots. Patriots have had 2 interceptions on targets to Travis Kelce. So I think that with Kelce, you don't need to get crazy. You just have to do with what's worked in the past with him.
Yeah, like you said, they've done a pretty solid job of kind of limiting him, which has been a little, or I don't want to call it surprising, but the Patriots have had issues with tight ends. They had issues with tight ends earlier this year. I mean, both Devin McCourty and Patrick Chung had a couple kind of shaky efforts, but yeah, both of them were solid on Travis Kelce in Week 6. So I don't think they really need to reinvent the wheel with their kind of coverage plan for Travis Kelce in this game. There's been some people speculating that, maybe they should put Stephon Gilmore on Travis Kelce when he splits out wide. Maybe, but I mean, Stephon Gilmore never covers tight ends, never really plays in the slot. So I just think that's kind of overthinking it a little bit. I think you stick with Devin McCourty, Patrick Chung on Travis Kelce, and then if things are kind of going sideways early, maybe you can sort of reevaluate and adjust. But I think that's probably the best course of action.
Definitely. On the Chiefs ground game, they've got Damian Williams, who's now filling in for Kareem Hunt. He's really kind of replicated the success of Kareem Hunt on the ground. Might not be quite as consistent, but he hasn't been nearly as much of a big play threat through the air. So I'd say that, if you're looking at the Chiefs in Week 6 versus the Chiefs now, the team now is probably a lot stronger in a lot of regards. They've got Justin Houston back as a pass rusher. Their secondary is playing better. But, going from Kareem Hunt as a pass catcher to Damian Williams as a pass catcher is a pretty significant step down.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of been an underplayed storyline since Kareem Hunt sort of left the team. Was that early December?
Right.
So that was a month and a half ago or so. Maybe it has been discussed and we just haven't seen it because we haven't been following the Chiefs with a sort of super closely over the last month and a half. But the fact that, Damian Williams has really sort of replicated what Kareem Hunt brings on the ground. He's been a starter in KC for 4 games now. He's gone over 100 yards in 2 of those games. So he's been a really productive ball carrier. He was just that against the Colts in the divisional round. Hasn't really given him that, like you said, that big play receiving ability. He's a fine pass catcher. He's not a one-dimensional kind of player. He's not a LeGarrette Blount out there or anything.
Caught a lot of passes with the Dolphins.
Yeah, caught a lot of passes with the Dolphins. He'll catch, 5-6 passes a game, a pretty solid amount. But I think people forget how good Kareem Hunt was out of the backfield, especially against the Patriots, which for whatever reason he just killed this team for the last 2 years. 431 all-purpose yards, or yards from scrimmage rather, 4 touchdowns in those 2 games. And Kareem Hunt was averaging, before he got cut, he was averaging 14.5 yards per reception,
which is insane.
Which is crazy for a running back. And Damian Williams, while he's fine in that area, he's only averaging 7.0. So I think that's going to be a big kind of wrinkle in this game that you might see kind of that certainly favors the Patriots as they go into this. They're not going to have to deal with Kareem Hunt doing those kind of running back seams out of the backfield that have really killed them for those last 2 years.
And I actually have a feeling the Patriots might just let the Chiefs run on them. We might see them come out in dime or quarters or a lot of nickel packages, because you really don't want to let Pat Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce kill you. I think that you need to kind of load the field with defensive backs. And if the Chiefs want to run the ball, then that might actually even play to your advantage by the end of the game. But on the other side of the ball, Patriots definitely have to do a good job of getting out to an early lead so that they can run the ball, because the Chiefs' run defense, I think, was 32nd this year in rush defense DVOA. So
they were not good.
That's been a big issue for them. So I would say that Sony Michel, and to a lesser degree James White and Rex Burkhead, are pretty significant. They're significant keys in this game as well, just to get out to an early lead and to run the ball and to kind of exploit some of the Chiefs' weaknesses.
I agree. I mean, they were able to do that pretty well in Week 6. They had 173 rushing yards in that game, I believe. Sony Michel went over 100 on his own. And you saw last week in that Chiefs-Colts game what happens when the team playing against the Chiefs doesn't get out to an early lead and has to kind of play from behind the whole game. Colts were running the ball reasonably well. What did they average? Like 6.5 yards per carry in that game? But they only ran the ball 14 times, 13 times. They weren't kind of afforded that luxury because they had to have Andrew Luck throw the ball around the field all game because they were in a hole so early. So I think it's always important for a team to jump out to an early lead. That's kind of a pretty bit of obvious analysis, but especially when you're playing a team like the Chiefs that can score immediately from anywhere on the field, you don't want to limit your own options. You want to kind of make them keep the ball sort of in your court, so to speak. Don't let the Chiefs kind of dictate how the game is going to go.
I think that, the Patriots really did prove against the Chargers that when everything's on, it's on.
Yep.
But I do somewhat wonder a little bit if the Patriots can just keep relying so heavily upon James White and Julian Edelman. Might have mentioned it earlier, but the Chargers ran a lot of cover 3 zone. The Patriots were able to kind of pick apart their zones. There wasn't a lot of defenders in the shallow part of the field. James White and Julian Edelman are zone beaters. Chiefs are definitely much more of a man coverage defense, and I believe that Julian Edelman and James White can get open against man defense, but it's more of a physical element than it is a mental thing for them. And I think that Tom Brady might just have to spread the ball around a little bit more in this game if the Chiefs are going to be playing man defense, and especially if the Patriots don't get out to an early lead, if they start to kind of flood the field with defensive backs.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see the Patriots get a little something out of Chris Hogan. He's been kind of the guy that's sort of fallen off the map in recent weeks. Not in that he's not getting targeted like was the case for a lot of the second half of the regular season. He's getting his targets. He's just not kind of making plays off of those targets. I believe, what did he have? 3 catches against the Chargers. He really wasn't a factor in that game. And I think just looking at the way the connection Tom Brady has with Philip Dorsett right now seems to just be so much stronger than his connection with Chris Hogan, which is a little kind of counterintuitive since Chris Hogan has been with the team for a full season before Philip Dorsett arrived. And Chris Hogan has had a lot of great success in this system. For whatever reason, it just doesn't seem to be clicking. He always seems to be the throw and kind of Hogan's body position never seem to be really on line.
Yeah,
where
they
they're
don't seem
supposed
on
to
the
be.
same page. It's so weird.
It's bizarre. So I don't know if that's just a function of Chris Hogan not kind of having the production that he's used to having during the regular season, and it's kind of throwing off any sort of technique or what have you. But I think it would certainly help the Patriots for him to sort of get a little bit more involved in this offense. And then Rob Gronkowski, as we talked about before. If Rob Gronkowski can have kind of we always talk about the vintage Gronk game, which I don't even know if that exists with the current Rob Gronkowski, the current form of Rob Gronkowski. But if he can even have kind of a moderately productive game, I think that would do wonders for this offense and kind of take some of the load off Julian Edelman and James White, because they really were kind of the majority of the Patriots offense last week, or at least the majority of their passing game. And moving forward, you would have thought that the Chargers would kind of make it a point to say, all right, don't let James White and don't let Julian Edelman beat us, considering they've been the 2 most productive players for the Patriots for most of this year. That didn't happen. We'll see what happens this weekend.
Yeah, it really is interesting to see if Chris Hogan gets a little bit more involved. If I were Tom Brady, I don't know how much confidence I would have thrown to him for those reasons that we mentioned, that they don't really seem to be on the same page. But I do wonder if the Patriots kind of open up their playbook a little bit here, show some more wrinkles. I don't know what that would be. Obviously, we wouldn't know what that would be because then the Chiefs would know as well. But whether that is, making Philip Dorsett a real focal point of the offense, whether that's, working in some more jet sweeps, being a little bit more creative with 2 running back sets.
Maybe some more Cordell Patterson. We didn't see much of him last week.
Yeah, he was not very involved against the Chargers, so maybe they were kind of playing coy with that. Didn't want to open up everything with Cordell Patterson against the Chargers. Easy for me to say. But yeah, I do expect them to get at least a little bit creative in this game. And, as far as Patriots fans go, they're probably hoping that does not involve Tom Brady catching any passes, which has been a wrinkle they've shown in the past. Yeah, but I do expect, something else to come out here because the Patriots, the keys, like we said, are to get out to an early lead and to shut down Tyreek Hill. I think that if they can do both of those things, they're going to win this game. But if one of those things doesn't happen, if both of those things doesn't happen, if it does become a shootout, then they really have to catch the Chiefs off guard with something in this game and maybe kind of pull out that wrinkle that they've been sitting on all year.
Absolutely, yeah. We talked about it earlier, the fact that they jumped out to such a big lead so early against the Chargers allowed them to be pretty vanilla down the stretch and have it not really affect the kind of outcome of that game. Maybe they have some wrinkles that they had already drawn up that they had ready to pull out in that Chargers game if they needed to. Then Josh McDaniels can just kind of say, all right, no, we'll put these back in the playbook. We'll save them for when we actually need them. Maybe we'll see some of those this week.
Yeah, but one other aspect on the Chiefs defense that we haven't talked about too much is the pass rush. You got Dee Ford, Justin Houston. Justin Houston will be back in this game. He didn't play in Week 6. And Chris Jones. Chris Jones is a really dominant interior defender.
15 and a half sacks as a defensive tackle this season. Yeah. That's very impressive.
Unbelievable. Justin Houston had 2 sacks against the Colts. Dee Ford, I think, had 1 sack against the Colts as well. So those guys are definitely players to watch. But we say it every week. And we talk about these pass rushers, and they, like in the Chargers game, Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa basically did nothing in that game.
Total non-factors.
They had some pressures, 1 quarterback hit, but Tom Brady was just getting rid of the ball so quickly, and the offensive line was doing such a good job of pass protection that it really wasn't a factor. This game is a little bit different just because it is on the road, and crowd noise might affect some things, might affect the snap count, might force the Patriots offensive line to jump off sides. But I don't see it being as big of a threat as it was in that 2015 AFC Championship game against the Broncos. If only because of injuries. The Patriots had injuries in that game. Nate Solder was out of the game. This year, the Patriots are basically healthy from top to bottom. So that's going to be a big factor in this game for the Patriots, is that they are heading into a road AFC Championship game healthy with their running backs, their offensive line. Going back to that 2015 game, again, Patriots running backs were really beat up. So there was really no threat of the Patriots running the ball. There is in this game. So I think that this game, in theory, on paper, Patriots should be much closer to winning it than they were in that 2015 game against the Broncos.
Yeah, this is the healthiest the Patriots have been at this point in the season in really a long time. There was only one player, Dietrich Wise, on their injury report at the end of last week. He ended up missing that Chargers game with an ankle injury. He was back out at practice today. Everybody was out at practice today. They've really had perfect attendance at practice for the last 2.5 weeks, which is pretty remarkable for a team that's this deep into the season, especially when you look back at some of kind of the attendance reports they had last year where there would be 15 guys limited in practice and 4 guys out. The Patriots are incredibly healthy right now. They have their kind of full complement of weapons. There's not going to be Patriots fans can't come out of this game and say, man, if we only had XXX, then we probably would have won. You can look at that. That was kind of a big storyline after both of those AFC Championship game losses to the Broncos. It was the Patriots just being kind of decimated by injuries in both of those games, and then just kind of falling short and having their season end there. That's not going to be the case this weekend. The Patriots have everybody. The Chiefs have almost everybody. There are some question marks. We mentioned Eric Berry earlier. I think there are a couple other guys on that Chiefs team, Spencer Ware, some other guys that are questionable right now, but all of their big guns are there. Travis Kelce, he'll play. Tyreek Hill's going to play. Patrick Mahomes is obviously going to play. So this is going to be really best on best, which is kind of exactly what you want to see at this point of the season from an entertainment and a football lover standpoint.
Full disclosure, we kind of record this podcast in 2 parts. So if we were really weirdly repeating ourselves about some things. That was the reason why.
Trying to remember where our technical difficulties cut in there.
Yeah, so if there was anything weird, blame that, not us. We're not like, we didn't go like senile or something over the past.
I mean, we might be.
We might, but that has nothing to do with these issues. But that will do it for this week's podcast. Next week, we will either be talking about a Patriots road to the Super Bowl, or we'll be talking about an AFC Championship loss and who's on the free agent market for the Patriots. But I'm sure that everyone listening to this is hoping that it is the former. We will be talking about a Super Bowl. And like we said, I mean, if the Patriots can do some key things in this game, then they will be playing in a Super Bowl. But we'll just have to see how Sunday works out. Keep it on NESN.com for all of your Patriots coverage. Zach and I will both be there. We're also sending a video crew, so keep it on the lookout for video stuff going on.
Full live pregame from Arrowhead Stadium.
Yep, watch that. Me, Zach, and Matt Chatham will be doing the pregame chat. I believe that's at... I don't know. Follow us on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at Doug Kide. Follow Zach on Twitter at ZachCoxNessen. And we'll tell you at the time when we're going live, and we'll probably even tell you a few hours beforehand when we actually know what time that's going to be.
That's a tease and a half.
It really is. All right, well, we'll talk to you guys later.